welcome to the end of the day. You've all made it, and who wouldn't stick around for a metrics presentation? But actually, this presentation is going to be pretty light on the metrics, and it's not going to hit you over the head with data. It's going to be like physics without the calculus, I guess. What this deck is about, and this presentation is about, is solving a problem. And that problem is that in the world of marketing, we've made tremendous advances in advertising technology and marketing technology, and our marketing teams have gotten increasingly technical, and we're embracing these new technologies, and we geek out over them, and it's awesome. And then what we find is that when we go to talk about these results to other teams in the company, nobody cares. So this presentation is about how do we solve that problem in a really practical way. How do we go through a methodology that allows us to align all the cool stuff that we're doing in marketing with the actual business metrics that matter. I'm going to have my batteries changed. This is a first. I can just use this. All right. Now it's pulling at my ear. Hold on. Hold on. Is that working? It's okay. There you go. All right. Well, everything worked all day, and then finish it off strong. Okay. I don't think we. All right. I'll try to. I don't think this is working still. Here, I'll just use this, it's no biggie. Yeah. Okay. Woo, where was I? Okay, yeah, so solving a problem, trying to align the marketing organization with the financial business metrics that actually matter and that everybody else in the company cares about. So I'm gonna walk through 5 simple steps. They're not that simple when you actually put them into practice, but 5 steps that I think every business can follow to help align marketing with the rest of the organization. And because this is supposed to be a problem-solving, practical deck, it comes along with a bunch of resources that we can give you. So if you want any of these resources, I'll point them out. They're models that you can take out our data, put in your own data, and hopefully use at your own company if you want them. Tweet at me, I'll get them to you. I'm an okay Twitter follow, not a great follow. I'm a good one. I won't bother you though. And hopefully there are things that you can actually put to use instead of taking the time to develop for yourself. So let's get started. So I think I'm actually in a pretty unique position to talk about this topic. AdRoll is one of the most widely used independent advertising technologies outside of the Googles and Facebooks of the world. And so we have over 20,000 marketers using our platform. We make software for marketers. So in my role, I get to talk to a lot of marketers who are facing various issues within their organization, using our technology, using other technologies. I'm also a marketer myself. I'm the CMO of our company. I'm in charge of building our brand, helping bring products to market, driving leads into the sales team, and nurturing leads in existing customers. So I kind of face both sides. I talk to marketers, I am a marketer, kind of meta. So I think I have a good perspective on some of this stuff. Getting started on these 5 steps. So number one thing, determining your sources of truth. What are your tablets? Where is the record of truth in your data set? Is it in your CRM? Is it in data imported from a POS system? You don't want to get down the path 4 months down this process and have a conversation with someone about, oh, okay, and we drove this many customers, and they're like, where did you get that data? And you say blah, 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 and they say, oh, we don't use blah, blah, blah anymore, we use blah, blah, blah. So figure out what your sources of truth are, and what I recommend to make sure you avoid that process is to start out with a 4-week cross-functional data hygiene project. This is required, even if you think your data sets are perfectly pristine, which is true for no one I've ever talked to. There's always something more you can do to make sure the data is clean, deduplified, and so forth. This has a range of benefits. So, of course, the most obvious one, number one, you want to be able to have clean data so that you can that your findings are credible, and you're not including a bunch of caveats and carve-outs and so forth. But there are other slightly less obvious benefits. For one, you get cross-functional alignment. So bringing multiple teams into the room to work on this project unto itself starts to solve this alignment problem. So bringing in people from finance, bringing in people who maybe maintain these databases can help start the alignment process, which leads to number 3, which is getting everyone speaking the same language. Understanding what the terminology you use, the data that you can find and that you can't find, and starting to bring those teams together. So that's step 1. Moving on to step 2, a lot of this is about aligning to finance because at the end of the day, that is the output of the health of the business. So if marketing metrics aren't filtering into the financial metrics, then you're going to have really awkward budget conversations. So here's a quick survey. So I assume this is all marketers in here. How many people develop their marketing KPIs with guidance from finance? A sprinkling. So, is it any wonder why we have awkward budget conversations at the end of a quarter? Finance doesn't understand the impact that marketing is having on their financial metrics. And there are different kinds of metrics, right? So marketers care about CPMs, clicks, views, leads, downloads, conversions, basically anything starting with a C we geek out about. And meanwhile, on the other side, the finance team is looking at revenue. They're looking at margin. They're looking at fully loaded customer acquisition cost, of which marketing is an input. They're looking at churn, average revenue per user, LTV. So what, as a marketer, you need to do is work with finance and understand these assumptions in particular. Understand how the whole financial model works, of course, but these are really important inputs because they're going to help you connect the dots between your marketing efforts and revenue. It would be impossible to go through this section without talking a little bit about attribution. I could probably do a separate hour-long talk about that, but I won't. I'll just touch base on 2 key areas of attribution. One of them being sales and marketing touch points, and the other being multiple media touch points. And they're actually kind of similar when you think about it. So, the first one is connecting the dots between sales and marketing. So this is a particularly B2B example. But what generally happens is that in this day and age, that marketing is creating content, they're doing events, they're creating a brand, they're generating interest in a product or service. And then maybe having a form that becomes a lead, right? And then the salespeople are calling up those leads and converting them, we hope, right? So the problem that I see develop at a lot of B2B companies is that all of that revenue is entirely double counted because the marketing team is looking at their metrics and they're saying, okay, we drove here's how we drove all of the leads into revenue, and the sales team is like, here's how we closed all this revenue, and they're not connected. They're not looking at how you split up the various touch points. So this is the first model that I'm happy to share with you. We'll take out our numbers, we can put in yours, but this is kind of a simple overview of how it would work. So you look at a lead coming into the system. Is it already somebody we know? Is it in our database? If not, then you might want to give 75% of the credit of that conversion to the marketing activity. If it is, sales still needs to close it, obviously, so not 100%. So if it is in the database, is it already an active conversation that someone in sales is having? That means the marketing activity is slightly less incremental, so slightly less of a percentage. If it's in active contact, is it already in negotiation? Is this like kind of deal basically in the works? If it is, then marketing is kind of maybe just nudging it along. So if it's still in negotiation, and then is it even closed won already? So if it's closed won, if it's in negotiation and it's in closed won, then marketing is really only a slight nudge. And if it is entirely closed won, then you kind of got to go down another path and look at, okay, well, what is the lift? So if I'm touching an existing customer, what is the LTV increase? What is the churn decrease? And attribute revenue that way. The second attribution topic is with media buying. So in a similar way, just in the same way that you wouldn't give all of the credit of a particular conversion to the salesperson who happened to talk to them last, you shouldn't give all of the credit to the media channel that happened to touch the consumer last. The analogy we often make around this one is if you had a bunch of people waiting in line at the supermarket and they've got their baskets with them, and then you're a marketer and you go down the supermarket line and give each of them a 10% off coupon. Will each of them redeem that coupon? Yes. Is that coupon responsible for driving the conversion? Of course not. So so much is said about last click, and I think intuitively you can go through these analogies, and it's pretty clear why it doesn't make sense. The problem, well, there's another problem associated with it. It's very click-oriented. This is a study from ComScore. 8% of the internet audience is responsible for 85% of the clicks. So that's a big problem, right? So if you're a marketer, there's two big problems here. So one, if you're gearing only on that 8% of the world that clicks on ads, you're biasing your media to a very clicky audience. Is your target customer a very clicky person? Maybe, maybe not. And then also, if you're not taking into account everything that happens outside of clicks, you're ignoring 92% of the activity that you have. And that's going to result in a very biased outcome as well. So great, we know these are problems. As I said, they're intuitive, they make sense, but then the question is, what do you do about it? So resource time. So we have some of this stuff built into our dashboard, but even if you don't use AdRoll, we're happy to give you this model so that whatever vendor you use, whatever media you're using, you can measure things in this way. And what this does, it just allows you to determine your own way for chopping up credit across media channels and weight them differently depending on when they happen in the buyer life cycle, whether they're a click or a view, and so forth. So another good resource for whatever media channel you're running. Okay, number 3. Now we have the tools to build a historical model. For some of the startups out there, this is going to be a little bit more obvious. You're probably doing this out of your business planning process, but not always obvious for more established folks. So very simple. This will be a quick overview of it, but you've got your marketing investment. You have your attribution model now, which we've agreed on. That will spit out a certain number of attributed conversions. You multiply that by the LTV, or the average revenue per user, that you got from the finance team, so it's blessed, it's real, it's not made up. That'll spit out a certain amount of marketing attributed revenue. Divide that by your marketing investment, and that's your marketing ROI, right? So all pretty simple math. We do have a spreadsheet that'll help you do this, but it's a pretty simple model. Every business will have its own caveats in there, and especially when you get to the attribution model part, it can get a little complicated. But once you have this, and you believe all the inputs are blessed, and they're all coming from those sources of truth you identified at the beginning, get that widespread agreement. Does this look like reality? Get folks from the finance team on the same page. Get folks from the sales team on the same page. Does this look like reality to you? Are these assumptions right? Is this an accurate portrayal of what happened with our marketing investment? Once everybody says yes, you can inverse the model. You can do what we call marketing or modeling kung fu. So you can just flip that same exact model upside down and have a much more objective, data-driven conversation about an appropriate budget and marketing investment. So what does that look like? So now you can talk to finance and say, all right, finance, you're building out your plan for the next quarter, for the next year, whatever it might be. How much new revenue does that plan require us to generate? You can divide that by the LTV, or the average revenue per user. Now we know how many conversions we need. We know how many conversions we need. We can look at the historical cost per conversion. We can obviously hope some miracle happens and somehow this changes wildly and we all of a sudden get all this organic traffic, but most finance folks don't like to plan for miracles. So let's establish now a baseline marketing budget based on what we know we can deliver based on our historical data that we've all just agreed on in the last step. Okay, now we can say, all right, we're going to improve efficiency. We're going to get a better close rate. We're going to get a better LTV. We can build all of those assumptions now into the model and track their progress. And now we can have a clearly objective, data-driven, everyone bought-in conversation about what the minimum marketing budget should be and a clear set of expectations for what that output will be. As marketers, you should strive in every way possible to get accountability. You want to be held accountable when you win, and you want to be held accountable and be able to explain why things fell short. That's how these conversations will move much more smoothly. And then, final step ties exactly to accountability. Broadcasting that, tracking that. Again, these are some resources that we can share with you. How did we deliver compared to the goals that we outlined? So the same way that salespeople are held accountable for their quotas, marketing should be held accountable for delivering to their metrics and delivering to the metrics that matter. Oh, I closed with the title of the thing. That was accidental. Thank you.